one of our favorite guests to have on Radio Row or anytime, Green Beret, Texas Longhorn, Seattle Seahawk. What else can I say about Nate Boyer?
You can say filmmaker now.
Filmmaker, Nate Boyer. That's right. And so you're here, Jacob Wilson here. Jacob, a veteran himself now, and so want to have him on there with you. Nate, what's it been like getting into the filmmaking business?
Oh, it's definitely challenging. I mean, I say this and I mean this. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done directing a movie. Obviously, nobody's shooting at you. It's not war. I would never make that kind of comparison. But you're the commander. You know what I mean? You're the leader out there, and there's all these different departments with all this stuff going on, and every day something goes wrong. It's just like being on a training mission.
Exactly.
Not a combat mission. So it's like you got to flex. You got to be ready to adjust. Weather changes everything. People don't show up. Things don't happen, and it's just like total chaos. And I feel really comfortable in chaos, so I enjoyed it at the same time.
Our company made a documentary that they're trying to get out and sold right now about Scott Drew and the men's basketball team at Baylor. When they win the national title and that whole story. And I knew that it was like hard to get a movie together. Like I knew it. Hard. And then when you actually see it in practice, like how hard it really, really is to like get everything going. I think from the outside, people think like, look, you get your cameras, you get your lights, you get all the stuff, you point it, you shoot, some guy edits it, and then later on it's done. But it is herding cats,
dude,
in a way that I don't think most people could understand.
And it's crazy expensive.
Yeah.
And every minute is like precious. You know what I mean? And then beyond that, it's like, you're only seeing this little, when you watch it at the end of the day, there's all this madness going on outside your little 5% window you're watching of the world around you. But like managing all that, keeping everybody on task, and making sure that then beyond that, the creative side of it, making sure the performances are there and your story actually makes sense. All these other things, it's like.
Can you give us any details about what the movie's about, or is that?
No, it's out. It's out.
Oh, okay.
The movie's called MVP. It's based on a charity I co-founded with Jay Glazer. That's called Merging Vets and Players. We call it MVP for short.
I actually got to meet Jay because I was in Marine Corps Base Hawaii, and he came out there with Bellator MMA a couple of years ago, and so it was a very cool experience.
That's cool. Bellator's been a big supporter of ours for a long time. But MVP is the name of the movie. It's available now on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Showtime picked it up as well, so it's Paramount Plus. You can buy the DVD and Blu-ray. People still do that. Probably people in Waco do that. A lot of people in Waco, I would think. It feels like a Waco thing. I love that. I love that you can have a tangible, piece of this thing. But the story's based on it's actually a Marine who was living in a homeless shelter in Hollywood, and he meets an NFL player first year out of the league. On paper, they got nothing in common, but they're going through the same transition struggles, losing that uniform, and kind of finding that next thing. And, it's really cool, Jacob, that you are here, and you whether this ends up being something that's long run for you, it's at least like a good place to land that's got, challenges in what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And like it's competitive, and you've got your team, and you've got to like figure these, that stuff, we need that. It's like part of who we are moving forward. And that's really what the movie is all about, like highlighting that, because usually you're pretty young and that career ends, playing professional sports, going to combat, completely different things, but the locker room, the uniform, that identity, those are very similar, and that's what the movie's about.
And the physical toll is similar for players and for soldiers. So you're going through the same thing of, you became a soldier or a player because you were you had a certain physical peak.
Or a Marine. Soldiers or Army.
Yeah.
He's gonna get crazy here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, but you did that because you're at a certain thing, and then it either you can get out and everything can be fine. You're all right.
Yep.
Same thing in the NFL. Like, might have been lucky and have minor stuff, or you can have a life that's going to be difficult because of that.
And how successful you were on the field or the battlefield as well doesn't necessarily translate to a smooth transition. Because, for example, Tony Gonzalez, who's in our movie, right? He plays himself. This guy's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, tight end of all time.
There's a pretty good one on the Chiefs right now as well,
That's
too.
True. That's true, yeah. And he was also there. He was also Chief. He didn't have Pat Mahomes, though. But, first ballot Hall of Famer, and he broadcasting career, good-looking dude, whatever you want to do, you can do. You would think, but he he just felt so lost. You know, he missed the guys more than anything. And it really messed with him, and he kept it inside. He didn't share it until he came to MVP one day, and he started, you know, kind of opened up and talked to these vets that can relate to him, which seems odd maybe, but it just kind of worked for him. And so in the movie, he tells that story again, you know, and then people like Randy Couture's in the film. Michael Strahan and Howie Long have a cameo. And then all the vets portrayed on screen are played by actual veterans. So cool. All these people are kind of telling their own story. So while it's not a documentary, we try to make it as authentic as possible. You know, most of the crew are vets as well. It was just it was fun. It was cool to have everybody tell their own story together.
Yeah, I mean, being an Army Green Beret and a Texas Longhorn football player, you've kind of had these two different careers, and both of which you eventually transition out of. Which one of those would you say was a more difficult transition, military to civilian or football player to no longer playing football?
Honestly, football, because I had the football locker room after the military to go right into.
Yeah,
so
I did college before the military, so that's why I'm very curious.
Yeah, no, so I didn't realize until I got cut from the Seahawks that how much I needed that, you know what I mean, and how much I would miss that structure a bit, you know, and like even though you complain about 6 a.m. workouts, we do them in the military, we do them in football, you're like, this is the worst. Mm-hmm. But you feel good after you do them, and you've got your guys, and you go to chow together, and you kind of just like, it gets you going every day. But when you wake up and you don't have that thing you have to do, after a while, you know, it sounds nice for a bit, a little vacation, and then you're just like, what am I doing? You know, like, what's the point of any of this? And you get in your head, and it's just, that's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
So we all got to have something. We all got to have a passionate pursuit that means something to us, where we're at least part of what we're doing. I think this is for everybody, not just vets and athletes, is of service to others, you know. And one of the things that I love to do is storytell, like I know you guys love to do, because that's why you're doing what you're doing, and being a part of storytelling and helping pick people up when they're down and all that, and, you know, retell a narrative maybe in a different way and help others relate to that. That's all important to me, and so that's why this filmmaking stuff works for me, because it is my therapy in a lot of ways.
Yeah, the team in the military, that aspect of also, like, you're in this really close-knit group of, you are intensely in everybody's lives, because you are all, like, the team, you know, you're kind of all you have, because you have to spend all this time together. So your family's your friends. You know, this is how it is. And even particularly, it's probably a little bit easier in the NFL because you could stay in the same city. But a lot of times in the military, well, like, he was in Hawaii, you know, and then he had moved, right? He either had to, you know, stay, or he didn't have.
Players get traded.
Exactly.
You know,
traded
a lot of times too, you know, and it's like people always go back to, well, it's not the same. Those guys are all millionaires. First of all, they're not all millionaires. They do. It is it's a great life. Don't get me wrong. Playing pro sports, it's good money. You're playing a game, yes, but it's a grind. It could end at any moment. It's not on your terms typically, and like the average NFL career is 3 years, so they're 25, and maybe even if they did make some good money, they poured everything into that, and there was no backup plan, because they felt like if I have a backup plan, I'm not going to be putting all my energy into plan A. And it's not going to work out for me. So they don't even don't ever think about the fact that I might get cut and then it just happens and it's over, and you're like, all right.
What do you do now?
I just have no idea. So a lot of people, and they're young people.
But yeah, then you got to move. Like, you got to move back to where you're going to be. You know, or where you were before. Like,
or
you might
figuring
that out.
Like, where I want to go.
I can't. I think about, you know, we have Killeen, Fort Hood, right near us.
Yeah.
I think about guys who, you know, you're out at Killeen. Now, I'm not trying to knock Killeen, but most people aren't going to really want to stay there, right?
No,
It is a post that's the post.
That's an Army-based problem.
That's it.
Typically Marine. Where the Marines are is a little more attractive at times, but, you know,
it depends entirely on where you are.
but yeah, so then you've got to, like, okay, but all your friends might still be here in Killeen or wherever, and then you're going to leave and you're going to move to, you know, to Delaware or something, you know, back home. It's a tough transition. It's tough for anybody.
It feels awkward too when you're out. You probably can relate to this in some ways, and your buddies are still in. You're like, I'm not gonna linger around, and, you know, they're busy. They got stuff going on.
You don't want to be like McConaughey in Dazed and Confused, just like the guy I used to be, one of you. But I just want to hang around and bask in what used to be.
So you guys going on a mission?
Yeah,
It's
cool.
not like you can go.
Anything you can share or no?
Yeah.
All right, no worries.
Yeah, it's not that simple. Nate, you're a Longhorn in official news now as of last night. This is the last year in the Big 12 for Oklahoma and Texas.
I love it.
You do?
Oh yeah.
Really?
I'm
You're
sorry.
fine.
I know this is a soft spot.
No. I'm very curious about this because there are I think there's some divided among at least Texas and OU
For sure.
X's because you didn't play in the SEC, but now they are, and so there's a little bit of that
also,
nostalgia.
I grew up in California.
Yeah.
I'm not a Texan. I didn't really care about the Longhorns until I went to UT.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's different for me too. I have this outsider perspective, but for me as a fan, I'm excited because when your road games are in Death Valley now, and in Knoxville up at Neyland, and these kind of places, it's hard to not be excited about that. Going down to the swamp, that's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
So that's part of it.
Oh,
And also shutting the SEC up. They think they're just we're always the best. Every time we play the SEC, and this is a lot of Big 12 schools, not every time. Oftentimes, people are shocked that we beat them or that we're hanging in there. I mean, we lost to Bama by 1 with a backup quarterback this year, and we should have beat them even with that. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, they played so well. It's like, yeah, but they're not that. They're not all that. Relax.
I think
you can hang with anybody. The Big 12 is a lot more competitive than people give it credit for.
And I'm not trying. I got in a big after the national championship game. I got in Twitter. I made an opinion. People were saying that it wasn't worth it. But I was trying to clarify what I was saying. Look, the top of the SEC is better than the top of every other conference.
Yes.
But
I agree.
But teams that won a long time ago are getting credit for that now, when really we're talking about 2 or 3 teams, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, right now that have been that elite. And the Texas won in 05, Florida won in 06 and 08. And can ask those schools how well that's doing for them right now. It's great that it happened, but again, you can't just dine out forever on what you did a long time ago. That was the debate. I do want to ask you though, are you excited about the A&M rivalry coming back?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They should have never stopped. We should have just kept playing them, just every year. South Carolina plays North Carolina.
Yeah.
Why? They're not in the same conference, but they play every year. Why would we stop? I don't understand why they stopped doing that. I know it's political and TV deals and all kinds of crap.
But it was also that.
Come on.
Of all the conference leaving, that was a legit divorce. It was an ugly divorce. You would not.
Well, you should meet up with your ex and fight every year. That's good TV. Who doesn't want to watch that?
Exactly. Yeah, there's your next thing. You
Bravo
pitch that
puts stuff like that on all the time, Paul.
You pitch the next that's Nate
Boyer's. I got it coming out in July, Discovery Channel. I am hosting a new reality series.
Okay.
So it's nothing like that.
No.
It's like a competition series like Survivor. So it's not a.
So we have a big chunk of Discovery in Waco, with the Magnolia. So
that's right.
Yeah, that's Andrew Zimmern was on yesterday. He comes down to Waco all the time. I was like,
that's cool.
Can we hang?
Let's do some bizarre eating.
Yeah,
I've
watched his Instagram feed. It looks like he cooks some pretty dang good food.
Yeah.
I got a kitchen.
Exactly.
So, well, Nate, thank you so much for joining us. Always great to talk to you.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
And movie MVP, and then of course the show on Discovery coming out here soon.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Nate Boyer with us here on 365 Sports.
The president.